Hey guys, hope you're having a great day today. It is Thursday. Happy Thursday morning to you. I hope that your day is going well. My day is going great. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that I'm really passionate about. It's how to plan meals, save money, and build a pantry that can support your family through whatever season you're going through. I know that food costs are rising. They have risen and it can feel overwhelming. I think that's why people look for a lot of videos of how to feed their family for less than $100, how to eat real cheap each day, because everybody's trying to cut corners on how to feed their family. Now, we have had a large family. We have a smaller family now, but still a large family considered to today's standards. And so we've gone through different seasons in life. We've gone through some where I did a lot of shopping at discount stores and I based my meals off that, and we were able to eat inexpensively. But then now in my season of life where we're at, we live in Florida and it's a very expensive state to live in, and the food costs are a lot more than what we're used to. So I've learned to cut down on things and get back to kind of simple things like I did back in the day. And I was reminded about a lot of these tips because I look back in my large family mothering book and I read the whole chapter on food planning and meal planning and how I did it back in the day when I had a lot of little ones and we were trying to save every cent we could. And I was like, okay, I still do pretty much all of those same concepts today. So I thought I would share some of my tried and true strategies and tips that I have used over the years, and maybe it can help you in your life. Because I know that making food for your family can be a stressful thing. It can be a lot of like, what do I do? What do I make? How do I do this? How do I go about even starting this? But being prepared, having a little bit of plan, it can make it go a lot simpler. So grab yourself a notebook, pen, and a cup of coffee or tea and settle in, because we're going to be covering everything from meal planning to pantry stocking and to making the most of what you already have. Plus, I'm going to give you a ton of free resources throughout this entire video. So, you ready? All right, let's go. So when I first started jumping into the world of having to provide food for my families and meal planning, all those things, I didn't know what I was doing. I would just go to the store, walk through the aisles and go, oh, that looks good. That looks good, and buy a lot of processed food. I remember this was way back in the day. This would have been over 25 years ago. Our grocery bill one time was $250. It doesn't sound like a lot right now, but it was just for a few people. But I was like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of money. But it was because we were buying so much processed things. I wasn't big on a lot of cookbooks, things like that, but they did have magazines. Remember the Family Circle magazine and Good Housekeeping? My mom would have some in her beauty shop, so I'd always go over, she'd cut out the recipes, and I'd kind of pick out some that I thought looked good, and I would attempt to make those. But it was not my natural thing to cook well or to plan things out or any of that, but I wanted to do those things. I was like, had it in my head, I wanted to be like that, but I just didn't know how to actually implement that. So then you just go through life just like everybody else, and you just kind of do what you got to do. And then I met my Mennonite friend, and she was a homemaker by nature. She had a large family and she cooked very well. And after spending some time with her, I was like, oh, I realized her food was delicious. It wasn't anything fancy. I mean, she had fancy things, but most of her food was just very simple. But it was very tasty and delicious. And I was like, this is the kind of food I want to learn how to make. So just by watching her and her daily life, and I learned how she kind of planned out her meals. I learned how she had a stocked pantry. She did a lot of gardening. She had things stacked up for her family, and just how she grabbed things and just kind of put them together and made some meals. And I was like, okay, this is something that I can do. And then I purchased one of my first cookbooks that I really learned to cook a lot of food from. And it was a Mennonite based one. It's called The Basics and More. I don't have it anymore because I had given it to one of my friends way back in the day, because I was like, okay, I feel like I can move on from that and graduate to a little bit more kind of recipes. And so that cookbook like changed my life. And it was just very simple things. It was everything that I could get in from my pantry pretty much to make for my family. So I didn't have to worry about going out and get a ton of things. I just learned to, okay, these are very simple things. Pretty much from one recipe, I could use a lot of the ingredients for another one, versus like from the Family Circle magazines, I would get something that would have some weird ingredient that I would never be able to use anything else for again. So it was a lot of wasteful ingredients, where The Basics and More had a lot of simple things. And I was like, okay, this was able to make a lot of yummy foods for my family. And meal planning is not just a way to save money, even though you're gonna save a ton of money. It's a way to bring peace in your home. Because when you have a plan, there's no scrambling, there's no stress, there's no last minute food purchases. So later on, you're not disappointed because you spent the money. It's all about being a good steward of what God has provided for your family and how you can take care of them with love and intention. So I'm gonna include the excerpt from my book, link below. I'm gonna give you a lot of resources. One of them is gonna be, I'm gonna take that chapter of meal planning and you can kind of get a glimpse of how I did it back in the day when I had little ones, free right below. Just go ahead and click and download it. It's just yours. So if you've never meal planned before, I would recommend that you start small. For myself, I've been doing this for a long time. I can plan out a whole month's worth of food and just go shopping one time and we can eat for the whole month without having to go back. It's not gonna be all the extra veggies and fruit towards that second part after everything goes bad, or the extra milk, but we can definitely make it so you can get to that point eventually. But first, start small. You're gonna start out with just 1 week. This is where you can just use a piece of paper. I remember using just a blank piece of typing paper and drawing out a rectangle and separating it into 7 days. Now I'm going to give you a link below for a free download. You can just print it off. You don't even have to worry about drawing it. It's blank. It's for a week's worth of planning your meals out. I'm also going to include a month one and the same one that I used way back in the day. So sometimes it's nice to put on paper, but if you have a plan, I have a place for the whole month. I have a place for breakfast and lunch, and snacks, for quick meals, all of that on that paper. So that's all linked below as well. So you're gonna get your list out and you're gonna write your days of the week on the top of your list, your SMTW, I had to think of things all the way through the whole week. So you have for the days of the week. And then you're gonna think about the meals that your family enjoys. Focus mostly on your bigger meal. If it's dinner, that's what you're gonna focus on making. Think of meals that your family enjoys eating. If you're kind of stumped and don't know, ask your spouse or your kids for input. Sometimes when I'm planning out meals, I get in that rut. I've been doing this for a long time, and there's some times where I'm like, what are we gonna have? And I can't even think. And so I'll watch videos and things, or I'll just ask my kids and I'll say, give me 2 meal ideas. I have each kid, because I have 6 of them or 5 of them at home now, that give me enough ideas. And so that gives me a bunch of meals to write down to make for food. I'm like, okay, that was simple. So I'm sure you can think of some basic meals that your family enjoys that you can fill out for your week. My husband always enjoyed spaghetti and tacos. So for myself, that was very simple. That gave me 2 days a week. I didn't have to think about it. That was 2 meals, wrote down, didn't have to think about anything else. So think of some basics that your family enjoys and just fill in your weekly list. And I know a lot of people do themes like Taco Tuesday or Soup Saturday or Leftover Friday or Pizza Sunday, whatever you want to do for your home. And having that each week is nice to know, because if you don't enjoy planning and you don't enjoy trying to figure out meals, that can take the stress off it, because every week, oh, it's Taco Tuesday. I know that's what I'm gonna make. If you like to change things up, you can have burritos or something, nachos or something. But if you just like the same, some people like the same and not have to plan and not doing it, just have Taco Tuesday every Tuesday. Everybody will get used to eating tacos. That's what you'll have. They'll know what's expected. It's dinner, and that's a good thing. And now when you're planning your meals, think about things that you can make, and maybe you can use some of the leftovers for the next day. So let's say one day you're gonna grill some chicken. So then think, okay, if I grill a little bit of extra, the next day we can use that chicken in fettuccine or in a salad, and kind of think how you can kind of stretch one meal out and use it for the next. That's a good way to kind of cut down on the amount of time that you're in the kitchen. Having a well-stocked pantry is your best friend when it comes to planning meals. This is just my noodle cupboard. We have a noodle and dried beans and rice cupboard in our home. We also have a pantry full of cans, but I didn't want to film over there because Greg is resting, so not to be too loud. But I do have multiple areas in my home where I store my food and my pantry basics. Having this in here and having things stored up in here allows me to whip things up without having to run to the store to get foods for dinner. And it also gives you peace of mind during emergencies, because there are times that, oh, the power goes out, and oh, you can't go to the store, or there's a gas shortage, or who knows, whatever kind of emergency. I know we've all been through them where you can't get to the store and get immediate food for that day. So it's nice to have some things at home so that you know that you can eat something. If it's not your favorite, but at least it's some food. So how do you start and stock up your pantry? Because Amy, right now I'm trying to barely get by with my bills. I get you. So having this meal plan, if you're gonna do something different, you're planning out your meals for dinners, right? And breakfast and lunch, you should be able to cut down on the expenses. We always had a large family. There was never a lot of extra money. So what I would do is I kind of cut down on things, and then I would take an extra $5 to $10 for that week. I'd set it aside. Maybe that's all you can take. Or you just don't go and get coffee one time. That's $10 or whatever. I have found there's always something you can cut down on, whether it's you go without something you normally buy and you just kind of cut down just for that month and you have a little bit of extra money. So take $10, if just $10 every week, okay? So maybe you save that $10 through the month, so you have $40. Okay, so then one month you focus on, I'm gonna give you a free download below of some pantry staples and basics. Now these are things to stock up on. Now back in the day when I did this, I would go, maybe that first week I would just get some canned vegetables. So I would just take $10, went a long way back then, not so much now, but and I would just stack up on a few extra cans of things to put in my pantry. You can do the same thing. Start with something basic. Don't buy a bunch of box macaroni and cheese. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having that for an emergency stash. For us, it would be like extra beans, extra tomato sauce, extra pasta sauce, or extra flour, things that you can keep that you can do like a bigger meal, or extra pasta because I know that we'll eat, or extra rice, just to have a little bit of extra in your pantry. Start small. It doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to go and spend a lot of money on it. Just start small, and by the end of the year, you'll have a lot of extras in your pantry that you don't normally have. Now, we always have some sort of rations in our pantry, in our cupboard. We always do. We have it in all of them. We could sit at home and never go shopping for quite some time. I don't have a huge store. There's some people that have a whole basement full of stuff. That's not something feasible that I can do or we can do. So for me, I just like to have enough stocked up. So I know even this month we've really cut down on the amount of groceries we've bought. As you saw, we've had a minimal spend January, and I'm just using up what we have and just going for the little things at the store that we see that we need for specific meals. So for us, we always have something, but it's because I'll see something and I'll stock up on it a little bit, or oh, I'm a little bit low on my diced tomatoes, let me get a box of it so I have it. So remember, when you put it in the cupboard, I don't always do this because our family, we eat all of our food up, but people rotate their cans. We just don't have that problem. If I put my new ones in the front of the old ones, we're gonna eat them eventually. Nothing's going to waste, but if you have a smaller family, or you're not gonna go through it as much, when you put your new cans in your cupboard, put them behind the old ones so the old ones get used up first. I don't have to worry about that. I always add my new flour on top of my old flour, and people are like, that's so bad. We use it up. It's never going any more than a few months because we always end up using the food in our house. So this year, maybe you can try to stack up your pantry just a little bit. Get those dry ingredients that are not gonna go to waste, or those canned ingredients like pastas, rice, dried beans, canned stuff that's gonna be able to last for a little bit in your pantry. Those are good things to stock up on. All right, repurposing leftovers. I feel like this is something we do all the time. I used to have a Gather Your Fragment Friday video that I did every single day, every Friday, and it was all about gathering up food and so that nothing went to waste. I feel like my whole life is a Gather Your Fragment. We have a lot of leftovers. I'm transitioning from making a lot of food to less food, so it seems like we have a lot of leftovers. Not all the time. This week was exceptional because we had some sick ones, but I am constantly thinking, how can I reuse this for something different? And I know that most people, from what I've seen and know from seeing people, is they take a lot of this and it goes in the trash. They mostly throw their leftovers away. There's a lot of people that won't even eat leftovers, and I'm like, what? They say, my husband doesn't like leftovers. My family doesn't eat leftovers. I don't understand that, because we've always used ours up creatively. I know just by looking at my refrigerator right now, the week that we've had, there is going to be some repurposing that I'm going to be doing tomorrow in our home with a lot of these leftovers so that nothing goes to waste, because that's the worst, is making food and then having to throw it away, because it's like, what's the point of even making it? So repurposing your leftovers. So I'm going to give you 100 different ways to repurpose different foods. That's going to be below for free, and it will give you ways to repurpose your meats, your chicken, mashed potatoes, beans, pasta, every little idea that I could think about, and I thought I'd at least give you 10 per main item. So I challenge you to think creatively in this. I have done so many things where I'm like, let me try this out. Let me do this. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. Just to be able to use it up. It's a fun way. It's a little experiment in your home to say, this is good once in a while. Most of the stuff I make, the family's always like, this is so good. Make it like this every time. And I'm like, I don't think I could, because it's just throwing a bunch of things together to use it up so it doesn't go to waste. So get creative with your leftovers. Don't throw them away. Some people just bring them out and they just put them out and let everybody eat them. No, I say make them creative. Your family will enjoy something different. Something I've done with a lot of them is you make some rice and you make basically a haystack. So your rice, we have a lot of taco meat right here, taco meat on top, throw some lettuce on there, even put some nacho cheese, which I think I have some, yes I do, over there, and lettuce, salsa. You can make haystacks out of them. We also have some black beans I can do the same thing with. We also have some sloppy joes. I can make sloppy joe tater tot casserole to use that up, just something different. Something else that's helped in my meal planning is having a master grocery list. This is something that I created a long time ago. Mine is going to be different than yours, so I never made one for you guys because you guys are going to have different things in your household. But it started out with me by writing down everything I'd buy at the store. Now, that's a lot to do, Amy. I know. You know what I did? You know what I did? I, at one time, wherever we moved, because we moved to North Carolina, and I had my grocery list all set in Michigan for all the stores I went to. So when I went into North Carolina and moved there, the stores I would shop at, I was like, every store is laid out differently. My Walmart is different than your Walmart, so it's hard to give you the list of what I use because it's different for your store. This is what I did. Walmart's I pretty much knew because they were kind of set with the way they did it, but in Aldi, they had changed things so much. So I went in with my camera and I went like this and I walked down every single aisle real slow down the next aisle so I can get a wide view of everything pretty much on their shelves. It took me, I think it was like a minute 30 to walk through the whole store. And then I went home and I made a list. I played my video. This is how I did it. I sat down and I went, okay, what was first? So back in the day, I mean, it depends on what store you're in. For my store, it's all fruits and vegetables first. So I wrote down fruits and vegetables and I wrote that down on my list. And then I went through and then it turned into breads and crackers and they had chips, that kind of stuff. I think that's my first aisle. So I would have my chart, my little piece of paper. I made it in a WordPad document. So I took my document and turned it to the landscape so it's long this way. And I would have my first aisle for Aldi and I'd write everything that they would have that I would purchase on this row. I put a little line in front of it so I could mark off how many I needed. And then I went to the next row and I wrote down everything. Ours is cereal, oatmeal, drinks, then it goes up to your pickles and your salad dressings, your nuts, that kind of thing. That was my second row and I only had like a little section. Then I went to my third row and put everything that they had. I continued through the entire store until I had my whole entire Aldi store figured out for me. So again, this is going to be different for you and depending on how you shop and what you do. Mine has changed. We moved here and then I just did all my shopping at like Sam's Club and Walmart. Well, now I'm able to do a little bit different and find a couple different stores where I can save some money. So I have mine broken up through stores. So however you shop, that's the part that takes time. I know it takes time. So once you have your main list, okay, so now you're going through your weekly menu of the things you need and you can say, oh, I need canned green beans. So you can mark off 1 or 2 canned green beans, however much you need. Take that master list with you to the store. And when you go to the store, you can kind of look and maybe you'll say, oh, there's applesauce. I forgot to put that on my list. And you can put it on your little paper there where applesauce is at. And when you get home, you can put it on your main grocery list and put it in there. I've had to do that so many times where I forgot an item and I put it on there so then I have it. So that's going to change over time with the things you buy and what you do. I look back on ours when I first did ours and I was like, okay, we pretty much buy the same kind of things. We buy a few different things now, but for the most part, everything was pretty much the same, but it's just laid out different because every store is different based on your area. So that was something I did. So if you don't want to go in the store and film it, okay, I get that. Kind of give an idea of how the stores are laid out in your head. Like think, okay, their cereals are this way, their canned goods are this way. And then maybe when on your paper, you can kind of visualize the order. And then when you get in the store, if it's completely different, mark it on your paper. It's going to take you a little time. I know that does take you a little bit of time. But once you have your master grocery list, that's a game changer. I still use mine now. Even shopping, like right now, we're just doing going every week, but I know I'm gonna have to do a bigger shopping at Sam's Club. So I'm gonna get my master grocery list and print it off and go through because there may be things that I've used up that I don't even think about because it's gone and I forgot to write it down. And I can go, oh, I forgot that we're gonna need this, like wood pellets was one thing. And so that's something I'm gonna completely forget about. I wouldn't even think of getting it, but it's on my main grocery list. So then I'll remember, oh, that's right, I'm out. Make sure I get some. So having that simple tool saves so much mental energy. You don't even need to think. For me, it saved me tons because it didn't make me go, oh, I'm completely out of this, or oh, I completely forgot to get that. There's times where I'm like, I didn't get deodorant because I forgot to write it down. If I had my main list, I would remember, oh yeah, we need deodorant and mark it off. So make yourself a grocery list. That'll be another game changer in your home. Having some quick fix meals for your family is also something very important in your home. These are those meals for those emergency days or the days where life just happens, because it does. There's always something that happens and you're like, oh, I didn't get time to do dinner, and you're tempted to go out to buy something. So instead of doing that, get your list of your quick fix meals that you can have your ingredients in your pantry or your freezer, and you can just grab and cook real quick. That might be something simple like a box of macaroni and cheese and chicken nuggets. It might be something as simple as spaghetti sauce from a jar and noodles. Whatever it is for your family, having a quick fix meal is a good thing to do for those days that life just happens. I'm going to include another free download below of 10 easy meals that you can just kind of put together real quick for those days when life just gets, because it happens. I also have a cookbook, a slow cooker cookbook that I put together this year, and it was for having more time for yourself. So that wouldn't be like quick last minute, but that would be one of those things in the morning when you know your life's going to be busy. You can throw it all together in the slow cooker and not even think about that. So I will link that below as well. So friends, I hope this video has given you some inspiration and practical steps to start meal planning, building a pantry, and saving money for your family. Remember, this is a journey and it's okay to start small. I did not start with the ability to do a huge master grocery list for the month and a huge once a month planning. No, I started with the simple basic 1 week. Plan 1 week's worth of groceries and 1 week's worth of meals. If that's too hard, just do dinners. Just do something simple like dinners for your family. Start small. It will definitely save you in the long run. And as promised, I'm going to give you all of these free resources linked below. You're going to get an excerpt from my book, Large Family Mothering. It's all about meal planning, how we did it back in the day. Same principles, same way I did it, just in a little book form. I'll link that below. You're also going to get a pantry starter list so you can help learn how to build your pantry and begin it so you can have some food for emergencies or just to have on hand. I'm going to include a weekly menu plan, a blank template so you can fill it in, and also a monthly one, the one that we used all the time for our family back in the day. I'm also going to give you 20 quick and easy meals ideas so that you can just kind of put them together for those days when life gets busy. I'm also going to give you 100 ways to repurpose leftovers, because there's something creative in those meals in that refrigerator, I promise, and you can make something out of them so nothing goes to waste. And I'm also going to include a meal plan workbook, and that it just has a little checklist so you can go through everything we talked about today to kind of help make your journey of meal planning enjoyable and not forget something. So if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might find it helpful. And don't forget to subscribe for more tips on homemaking and family life. Thank you for spending time with me today, and I will see you tomorrow. All right, bye.